What if I told you that the wealthiest people you'll never hear about, the ones with no debt, no stress, and money that quietly compounds while they sleep, follow a completely different set of rules than what your culture taught you? Today, I'm breaking down 13 stealth wealth rules that guarantee you'll always have money. The first 3 rules will protect everything you already have. The next 5 will quietly multiply it. And the final rules, those will permanently change the way your brain processes money. If you stay until Rule 13, you'll understand why some people earn 6 figures and feel broke, and why others earn half of that and retire early. Most people will scroll past this, but you're still here. So let's begin. These rules aren't taught in schools. They're not on the front page of financial magazines. They don't make good ads, because they require you to want less, and that's terrible for the economy. But here's what they produce. Freedom. Not the Instagram version of freedom with yachts and champagne. Real freedom. The kind where you wake up on a Monday and your bank account is the last thing stressing you out. I call these stealth wealth rules, because the people who follow them, you'd never know they're wealthy. No flashy cars, no designer logos, just quiet, compounding, unshakable financial security. Let's go. Rule 1. Never borrow money for something that loses value the moment you own it. A car, a sofa, a vacation, a phone upgrade. These are not investments. They are expenses. And when you finance an expense, you don't just pay the price. You pay the price, plus interest, plus the hidden cost of the mental burden of owing money. Stealth wealthy people understand one iron law. Debt is only acceptable when it builds something. A property that generates rent, a skill that increases income. Everything else, cash only, or don't buy it. The question isn't, can I afford the monthly payment? The right question is, does this purchase have a return? Or am I renting something I'll never own? Rule 2. Build one account you psychologically cannot touch. Not won't touch, cannot touch. There's a difference. Willpower is a depleting resource. It runs out. Systems don't. Here's how stealth wealthy people structure this. They open a separate account at a completely different bank, not linked to their main card. They automate a transfer the same day their income arrives, and they give that account a name that creates friction, not savings, something like never touch or emergency only. The goal isn't interest rate. The goal is psychological distance. The harder it is to access, the less likely you are to rate it for things that feel urgent but aren't. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Parked, untouched. This is not wealth. This is armor. Rule 3. Always spend less than you earn, and make the gap visible. This sounds obvious. It isn't practiced, because spending has become invisible. Subscriptions auto-renew, cards tap without friction, one-click purchases don't feel like money leaving your account. Stealth wealthy people make the gap visible. They know to the dollar what comes in and what leaves. Not obsessively, not with complex spreadsheets, just aware. Here's the shift in thinking that matters. Your lifestyle should be designed around what's left after saving, not the other way around. Most people save what's left after spending. Wealthy people spend what's left after saving. That single inversion, saving first, spending second, is where real wealth begins. Rule 4. Treat housing as a tool, not a status symbol. Here's what you must understand. Your mortgage is the single largest determinant of how quickly you can build wealth, not your income. A home is meant for shelter and security, perhaps an asset. It is not a reflection of your worth. The moment you internalize that, your entire financial trajectory changes. Are you ready for Rule 5? Rule 4. Treat housing as a tool, not a status symbol. Here's what you must understand. Your mortgage is the single largest determinant of how quickly you can build wealth, not your income. A home is meant for shelter and security, perhaps an asset. It is not a reflection of your worth. The moment you internalize that, your entire financial trajectory changes. Are you ready for Rule 5? Rule 5. Experiences should be funded, never financed. There's a specific kind of debt that nobody talks about seriously enough. Lifestyle debt. Debt taken on for experiences. Weddings, vacations, anniversary dinners you can't afford. Here's what makes this insidious. The experience ends, the memory fades, but the payment remains, with interest, long after you've stopped feeling the joy of what you bought. Stealth wealthy people understand something counterintuitive. The best experiences of their lives cost almost nothing. The rule isn't don't enjoy life. The rule is, if you can't fund it in cash, redesign the experience. Don't finance it.
Rule 6, and this one divides people. Never buy new when used will do. This applies hardest to cars. A new car loses roughly 20% of its value the moment it leaves the lot. In the first year, you can lose up to 30%. You are not buying transportation, you are buying depreciation. The stealth wealthy person doesn't drive the newest car on the block. They drive a 3 to 5-year-old vehicle that someone else took the depreciation hit on. It runs perfectly, it cost half the price, and that difference, it's invested.
Rule 7. Audit your spending twice a year like your money depends on it. Because it does. Most people have a vague sense of where their money goes. Stealth wealthy people know exactly. Not because they track every coffee, but because twice a year, they sit down and follow every dollar. Here's what you will always find in a biannual audit. At least one subscription you forgot about, at least one category where you're spending 40% more than you think, and at least one recurring charge that made sense 18 months ago and makes 0 sense now. Set a date, twice a year, pull every statement. Ask one question for each expense. Is this still earning its place in my life? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it's a no. Rule 8. Install a 72-hour delay between wanting and buying. Your brain in a store, physical or digital, is not the same brain that reviews your bank statement a week later. In the store, dopamine is running the meeting. At the statement, logic has finally arrived. The 72-hour rule hijacks this process. You see something, you want it, you wait 72 hours. In that window, one of two things happens. Either you still want it just as badly, in which case it's probably worth buying, or you forget about it entirely. And that forgetting is the sound of money staying in your account. Studies consistently show that over 60% of purchases that feel urgent in the moment are never thought about again after 72 hours. That's not willpower. That's a system. Rule 9. Buy for function, not for what other people will think. This is the rule that separates people who look wealthy from people who are wealthy. Every luxury brand charges a premium, not for superior material, but for the signal. You're not buying leather. You're buying the logo on the leather. You're paying for other people's reactions. And here's the brutal truth. Those people you're trying to impress, they're doing the exact same thing. Everyone is performing for an audience that isn't watching. Stealth wealthy people buy quality. Real quality. Items that last, that perform, that serve, not items that signal. Their clothes are good, their tools are good, their cars run well. None of it screams anything. Because when you truly don't need to prove anything, you stop paying the approval tax. Rule 10. Own fewer things, but make every single one of them count. The average American home contains over 300,000 items. Most of them create cognitive load, require maintenance, take up space, and produce zero value. They are silent costs, disguised as possessions. Minimalists don't own less because they're cheap. They own less because they understand cost per use. A $400 coat worn 200 times costs $2 per wear. An $80 coat worn 8 times costs $10 per wear and goes to landfill. The math always favors quality when you measure correctly. And beyond the math, there's something that happens to your mind when every object you own was chosen deliberately. The visual noise disappears. The mental clarity increases. You stop managing your stuff, and you start living your life. Rule 11. Your financial behavior is shaped by what you consume.
so consume intentionally. Social media platforms are engineered to generate desire. Each scroll is a curated parade of things you don't have, lives you're not living, upgrades you haven't made, and your brain, which evolved to track social status, responds exactly as designed. You feel behind, you feel lacking, and you spend to close the gap. Stealth wealthy people don't fight this with willpower. They remove the trigger. They curate their feeds with the same intentionality they bring to their budgets. If a piece of content consistently makes you want to buy something, it's not entertainment. It's an advertisement. What you consume shapes what you want. What you want shapes what you spend. Control the input, and you automatically influence the output.
Rule 13. And this is the one most people never reach, which is exactly why most people never change their relationship with money. Money is a tool, not a destination, not a score, not proof of worth. Here's the paradox that every stealth wealthy person eventually discovers. The less you need money to feel secure, the more of it you accumulate. The less you use spending to manage your emotions, the fewer impulsive decisions drain your account. The less you tie your identity to your net worth, the more clearly you see the actual opportunities in front of you. Chasing money with desperation repels it. Building systems with intention, quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice, that's what creates the kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself. The goal was never the money. The goal was always what it enables. Time, choice, peace, presence. You've heard all 13 rules now. The question isn't which one surprised you. The question is, which one will you actually implement this week? "13 rules. Each one simple. None of them easy. Because easy would mean everyone was already doing them. The stealth wealthy aren't smarter. They aren't luckier. They just chose a different set of rules, and they followed them quietly, consistently, without needing to announce it. If one rule from today changed something in how you think, write it down, right now, before you watch the next video, before you scroll to something else. Write it down, and beside it, write one action you'll take this week. And if you want to go deeper, the next video covers the 13 things that stealth wealthy people never buy. Some of them will surprise you, because they look like smart purchases to almost everyone, until you run the real math. See you there.